Welcome everyone to our YouTube series, Test Prep Made Easy. So in this particular series, we are going to post regularly questions on our YouTube channel. The questions may pertain to CAT preparation, maybe pertaining to GMAT preparation, as well as of various topics which are tested in these particular exams. For example, quants, LRDI, English, and various areas which are tested. And each day we will handle certain number of questions and their video solutions. The best approach is to these questions in these videos. So have a happy preparation ahead and enjoy the video. Thank you.
All right, so these are the questions that we are going to try in today's video. If you have tried it already from the thumbnail, good enough. If you haven't, you can pause the video at this point and try it once before you look into the solutions. We recommend you doing that. But if you just want to enjoy the solution, that's also good enough. And go ahead and watch the solutions now. All right, so in this problem, there are a couple of things you have to keep in mind. So if you notice the power out here in this given expression, so this is the thing that has been given to us. So if you look at the power out here, 1 plus cos theta plus cos square theta, and so on till infinity, it has been mentioned. So ideally, that is not required to be mentioned. If it just says dot dot dot, that is sufficient. But anyhow, so this is sort of a GP series with infinite terms, right? And if you are aware of this idea that cos theta will be less than 1 and also greater than -1, so it will be a fraction when theta is an acute angle. If theta is an acute angle, it has to lie between 0 and 1, by the way. So cos theta will lie between 0 and 1 as long as theta is an acute angle. So in that case, we can actually find the sum of this GP. So sum of a GP series is A by 1 minus R. I hope everybody is aware of this, where A is the first term and R is the common ratio. But this is the sum of infinite terms of a GP series only when the common ratio is fractional. It doesn't happen if common ratio is greater than 1. That is very silly. So in that case, the sum of infinite terms will be infinite as well. So in this case, because the cos theta value will be something fractional, so we can figure it out. The first term is 1 and the common ratio is cos theta. So it is effectively 1 by 1 minus cos theta, right? So that is the power. Now, before I get into it, so let me represent this power by some P or something. So P represents power. And what else do we have? So 27 raised to this power is effectively 9 cube, right? So if you are having problem equating these things in one go, what you can do is you can get both of these to the same base. So in this case, I hope you can see 27 and 9 are both powers of 3. So what I can definitely do is I can raise or represent this as a power of 3. So 27 is 3 cube. That raised to P will be something like 3 to the power 3P. I hope you're aware of this. The powers gets multiplied. So 3 to the power 3p. And again, in this case, 9 is 3 square and 3 square raised to 3 is basically 3 to the power 2 into 3, which is 3 to the power 6. So from this, since the base is not 1 or -1 or 0, we can equate the power. So 3p is equal to 6 or this p is equal to 2. So what we are getting is this entire thing, that is the p. So 1 by 1 minus cos theta should be equal to 2. So if you just work with this, whichever way is comfortable for you, you'll find that cos theta is equal to half. For this thing, you need to know a certain set of these basic trigonometric ratios. So I'll just I won't explain the entire thing, that will take too much of time. But what I'll do is I'll just introduce one special right angle triangle. So that is 30, 60, 90 triangle. Basically half of an equilateral triangle, nothing fancy out here. So if you continue this will be forming an equilateral triangle. If you take 30, 60 here. By the way, so in this case, the sides are in the ratio 1 is to √3. Opposite to 30 is 1, opposite to 60 is √3, and opposite to 90 is 2. So this is the side ratio. And cos theta is nothing but base by hypotenuse. So when you're saying cos theta is half, so you can see that this by this is actually half, right? So if I have to consider this as a base, then you have to consider 60 degree, right? So cos 60 will be base, that is 1 upon hypotenuse, which is 2. So cos 60 is half. So theta should be 60 degree out here. This is something related to trigonometry. If you're not aware at this point, go through the basics once. You don't have to mug up the table. You just need to know what is sine theta, cos theta, and tan theta. And just know a couple of triangles. One is 30, 60, 91, and another is 45, 45, 90. These two triangles help us determine these sine, cos, tan identities for 30 degree, 60 degree, 90 degree, and 45 degree. Not 20 degree, 90 degree and 0 degree as a different idea altogether. But 30, 45, 60, all of these can be determined through these two triangles for sine, cos, tan, and obviously the reciprocals as well. So yeah, that's the entire thing that I wanted to discuss for this particular question. I hope everything was understood. Very basic ideas. If you're aware of it, it should not take too much of time. But if you are not, then go through the basics once before trying a question like this. So that's it for this problem. I hope everything was understood. Thank you. This is a very interesting question. I mean, ideas on basis of this kind of thing I've discussed in our classes as well. So the first thing is you have to observe something in terms of the powers of the twos that we have in each literal. So let me just write that for your reference once more. So you have something like this. Now, if you notice the powers of 2, so this is power of 1, power is 2, power is 4. So it keeps on doubling, right? So whenever you have this power getting doubled, and here in all of these are two things added. So what you can imagine is the factorization of a square minus b square. So you can actually get this thing into use because a minus b into a plus b gives us a square minus b square, right? The idea is that if you notice here, the power of a and b are 1 and 1. Out here, the power of a and b becomes a square and b square. So power gets doubled, right? And that will give us the next literal, something like this. So what we are going to do is to this x, we are going to forcibly multiply a 2 minus 1. Now, in this case, 2 minus 1 is actually 1. So 1 multiplied to anything doesn't really matter. But had this been all threes, and then you had to multiply, suppose 3 minus 1, no issues, just divide by 3 minus 1 as well. So that automatically keeps the parity. But in this case, we don't have to do that. You can do that, but anyhow, that is what it really doesn't matter. So now just see the magic happening. So if you multiply these two, you'll get something like 2 square minus 1. The next term, I hope you can see it is 2 square plus 1. Again, when you multiply these two, you're getting 2 to the power 4 minus 1. The next term is 2 to the power 4 plus 1. So this multiplied again gives us 2 to the power 8 minus 1. And as the series has been presented, the next term must be 2 to the power 8 plus 1, right? So this thing will go on. I mean, this kind of coupling will keep on happening till you reach the point 2 to the power 1024 minus 1, which will get multiplied to this 2 to the power 1024 plus 1. And finally, what you will get is x is nothing but 2 to the power 2048 minus 1. So this is what you're going to get, right? Because again, a minus b into a plus b, a square minus b square, right? And square of this is 1024 into 2. So basically 2048, square of this entire thing, sorry. That would be 1024 into 2, which is 2048. So this is the x, right? Now we are looking to find the value of this expression. If x is this, then x plus 1 should be 2 to the power 2048. And if I raise this entire thing by 1 by 2048, so this thing is raised by the same thing, which end results in 2. Because 2048 into 1 by 2048 is 1. So we have 2 to the power 1, which is 2. And that should be the answer to this problem. So it's a very simple one if you understand this idea. Just a good question to explore on this idea. There are a lot of applications of this as well. So whenever you have a lot of these multiplied parts, some x plus y, x square plus y square, x cube, x to the power 4 plus y to the power 4, whenever you see the power getting doubled every time, because what you have to understand in this problem as well, I did not mention this earlier, but I hope that was very natural to understand. 1 squared is still 1, right? 1 to the power 4 is still 1. So you can imagine that this is 1 to the power 1, this is 1 square, this is 1 to the power 4. So that is what you're getting, right? The power is actually getting doubled for both of these. So both of the powers have to double. And in that case, you can apply this a minus b into a plus b idea. And that's it for this particular problem. I hope everything was understood. Thank you for joining in. We have two regular polygons in the question and having x and y sides. Okay, so that is a number of sides. So one of the regular polygon have x number of sides, another has y number of sides. Such that ratio is given x is to y is 1 is to 3. Great. So the number of sides are in the ratio 1 is to 3 for these two regular polygons. Now there is another ratio that is given of interior angle of the polygon. So when it says interior angle, I hope this question is meaning for a single interior angle. Otherwise, it should have said sum of interior angle. So the ratio of each interior angle of the polygon having x sides and the interior angle of the polygon having y side. So again, for these two polygons, the interior angles are in the ratio 3:4. So individually, each interior angle are in the ratio 3:4. Great. Now we're looking for number of diagonals in the polygon has 2x plus y sides. Okay, so we need to figure out the value of x and y. So that we know the number of diagonals. By the way, this also has to be a regular polygon. Not necessarily. Yeah, any polygon is fine. We need to find the number of diagonals, right? So I was thinking about interior angle. Sorry for that. So yeah, we finally have to figure out the number of diagonals for a polygon having 2x plus y sides. So I need to figure out x and y to figure out the number of sides of the new polygon. Great. So what are the information that we have? So first we have the number of sides are in the ratio 1 is to 3. So let me just write this in this manner. So polygon 1 and polygon 2. So number of sides are in the ratio 1 is to 3 that is given. And the ratio of interior angle. So each interior angle, since either one of them is a regular polygon, so for any one of these polygons, each interior angle will be equal, right? So for the first polygon, all the interior angles will be equal. Same for the next polygon. So each interior angle are in the ratio 3:4. This is already given to us. So there are a lot of ways we can actually handle this problem. I'll keep the things as simple as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to consider the number of sides are k and 3k, something like this. So if I take the sides as k and 3k, it will be very easy for me to figure out the each interior angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find each exterior angle. Now this is the easiest way and the smartest way to handle. So each exterior angle for P1 and P2. So each exterior angle of P1 will be 360 divided by K. I hope you're aware of this basics. Sum of exterior angle of all polygons, any polygon, sum of exterior angle is always 360 degrees. So each exterior angle should be 360 by K, right? Because there are K number of sides implies K number of vertices implies K number of exterior angles. So same thing for P2, but in this case, number of sides is 3K. So it would be 360 upon 3K, right? And if you are aware of what is an exterior angle, so suppose this is a polygon. So if this is an exterior angle and this is an interior angle, sum of these two will always be 180 degree, right? So if each exterior angle is 360 by K, so each interior angle should be 180 minus this thing, 360 by K. And same goes for this one as well. By the way, I'll reduce this to 120 by K. So something like this. This is what we have, right? But now we know that these two things are in the ratio 3:4, right? So we can now solve this. So let's take it in this way. 180 minus 360 by K is 3/4 of 180 minus 120 by K. Now you can solve this whichever way you prefer to do. What I'm seeing is 3/4 of 120 is 90 and this is 360. So if I get it on this side, so the left hand side will be 270 by K and 3/4 of 180. If I subtract from 180, we'll be left with 1/4 of 180. So that will be 45. So you can solve it, but I'm just, let me show this once. So I'm visualizing in this way: 3/4 of 120 is 1/4 of 120 is 30, right? So 3/4 should be 90. So this is 90. Imagine this 360 by k. This is a negative, right? So get this entire thing on this side. So you have 360 by k minus the 90 by k, because this will remain as minus, right? So you'll have a minus 90 by k, which results in 270 by k on the right hand side. On the left hand side, you're removing this thing 3/4 of 180 from 180, isn't it? Because when it goes on this side, it will be negative. So from 180, if you remove 3/4 of 180, you'll be left with 1/4 of 180, which is 45, right? So what we have is k is equal to 270 by 45. So that is 6. 270 by 90 is 3. So 270 by 45 should be double of it. So we have k equal to 6. Now, as soon as we know k, if you remember, this is x and this is y, k and 3k. So what we get is x is 6 and y is 18, right? And coming to the final question. So what was the question looking for? So let me just take this part off. So the question was asking for how many diagonals will be there in a polygon which has 2x plus y sides. So 2x plus y is basically 12 plus 18, which is 30. So we have 30 sides, a 30-sided polygon. We are looking for the number of diagonals. So a lot of ways you can do, you can figure out the number of diagonals. Either you can do 30c2 minus 30, or what you can do is 30 into 27 by 2. I'll explain both of this. I'll just take a minute to do that. Both the ideas I'll explain. So let me just keep that and take all of the other things off. And let me first explain to you the 30c2 minus 30 idea. So for a polygon having, by the way, let me keep a note of the x and y values you obtained, so that later on it will be a good reference point for you. Anyhow, so we have this 30c2 minus 30. This idea is something like this. So let me take a 5-sided polygon. So if I take a 5-sided polygon, notice there are 5 vertices as well, right? Now, if you connect two of the vertices, any two of the vertices, connecting two vertices, you will either get a side or a diagonal. For instance, if you connect this one and this one, you're getting a side, right? That is the side of the polygon. But if you connect this one and this one, you get a diagonal. So ideally, you will either get a side or a diagonal. So how many ways you can connect two vertices? So think about how many ways you can select two vertices. So that is 30c2, because there will be 30 vertices in that polygon. And out of those 30c2 connections that are formed, so this thing is 30c2 in our case. Out of them, there are 30 sides, right? Because it's a 30-sided polygon. So all that remaining should be a diagonal. So effectively what you have is 30c2 minus 30. That is the first idea. Similarly, what you can do is you can figure out in this way as well. So this is something you have to visualize a little bit more. So consider any vertex for that matter. Which vertices can you connect to form a diagonal? So in order to do that, rather what you can do is try to figure out which vertices you cannot connect to get a diagonal. One is you cannot definitely connect itself, right? I mean, you cannot connect a vertex to itself. That will not give you a diagonal. That will not even give you a line. You cannot connect the adjacent vertices as well, right? There will always be two adjacent vertices, which will give you sides, not diagonal. So for each vertex, you will have 3 less vertices, right? For example, for this vertex, out of the total 5 vertices, you can connect only 2 of the other vertices to get a diagonal, isn't it? So for n number of vertices, you should ideally have n minus 3 vertices to connect to get a diagonal, right? So for each of those, you'll have this many. So this should be the total number of diagonals, but there's a catch. So for example, if you consider this diagonal, once you consider, once you do this n into n minus 3, what are you actually doing? You're saying there are n minus 3 originating from this particular vertex. You're also claiming there are n minus 3 diagonals originating from this vertex, this later one which I drew. But both are correct. But the thing is, consider this diagonal out here. You have counted this diagonal once here as well as here, right? So effectively, each of these diagonals have been counted twice. So that is why they're divided by 2. So out here. So what you have is you can directly do 30 into 27 by 2 as well. So either ways is fine. I prefer this one. This is more logical and easy to understand. This is something you have to visualize the structure and then figure it out. There is a chance that you make a mistake. So yeah, that's the idea for this one. By the way, coming to the answer, so I don't want to calculate because what I see is 30 by 2 is 15 and 15 into 27 will end with a 5. And there is only one such option. So that gives me the answer straight away. You can calculate as well. 15 into 27 is 15 into 20 plus 15 into 7, 300 plus 105 is 405. But yeah, this was a little less calculation, at least at the very end. So from the question itself, it's a little calculative because there are a lot of different levels you have to solve for. The solving for the X and Y itself will take a bit of time. But once you have done that, the last part is easy enough to figure out. But yeah, in order to summarize, this question is a little calculation intensive because you have to figure out the X and Y. The smarter you can do it, the faster you will be able to solve the question. That's my entire input for this particular question. Hopefully everything was understood, and thank you for joining in. Okay, so we have a series question, and these kind of ideas are discussed in special series in our classes. So there is a relationship given. So just treat it as the nth term is derived from the previous term. So n minus 1th term will be the previous term for all n greater than equal to 2. So this is just a term you can represent in that way. And the first term is given, you need to figure out the 100th term, that is the question, right? So I'll just discuss few pointers out here. Now, number one out here, if you check uh, the nth term, so put n equal to 2. For n equal to 2 onwards, we can do this, right? So for example, if I put n equal to 2, I should get it is 2 times of t1 plus 1. By the way, check that t1 is given, so we can actually determine this. Similarly, T3, according to this relation, would be 2 times of T2 plus 1, right? So this thing will carry on. So T4, we can find 2 times of T3 plus 1. But obviously, you're not going to do this 100 times, right? I mean, 99 times you're not going to do this. So let's try to figure out a smart way. So first thing, don't try to mug up any ideas here. I have discussed few things which is relevant out here, but as I mentioned in our classes as well, you don't have to understand that also, because in CAT or GMAT or SAT or these kind of exams, I mean, that you would not have too tough a problem to solve. So just have to observe properly. So let's say T1 is given to us as 5. So just figure out these values. I mean, couple of values is fine, but let's take these 3 values just for this particular video explanation point of view. So I'm just plugging in 5 here. So 2 into 5 is 10 plus 1 is 11. Similarly, T3, now T2 we know. So 2 into 11 is 22 plus 1, which is 23. Same thing, this one is 2 into 23, 46 plus 1, which is 47, right? And also let me keep a check of T1, that is 5. Usually you can actually do it from T1 itself, but then just for your confidence point of view, you can figure out one more, that is sufficient. But I'm just showing you for this particular explanation part. Now, notice the options for T100. By the way, what you have to understand in these cases, if you are looking for T100 or something, you will have options, because you're not expected to numerically plug in the values of 2 to the power 99 and 2 to the power 100. I mean, just imagine the the size of that number. You'll understand what I mean to say. So T100, if you look at it, the options are something like this. So let me write it here. 3 into 2 to the power 99 plus 3. 3 into 2 to the power 100 minus 2. Then the same thing minus 1, then the same thing plus 2, right? I mean, this 3 into 2 to the power 100. So if you try to understand, let us imagine T1 in the same way. So everything is 3 into a power of 2 and then plus minus something, right? So let us try to figure this T1 with the same parity. For example, if T100 is this, then what will be T1? Just try to think in that way. See, this 100 power out here is 99, right? So that is one less power. So if I have T1, sorry, if I have T1, it should be 3 into 2 to the power 0 plus 3, isn't it? This should be the idea, because for 100 if you have 99, so for 1 you should have 0 in it. So something like this. Again, for this part, so for 100 you have the power as 100 for each of the following options. So for B, C, D, that is. So for T1 you should have 3 into 2 to the power 1, right? Then you have either a -2 or a -1 or a +2. Just try to check which one is giving us 5. That's all you have to check. So in this case, the first one, 3 into this is 1. So 3 plus 3, this is 6, not 5. So this is out. 3 into 2 is 6. 6 minus 2 is 4. 6 minus 1 is 5. And 6 plus 2 is 8. So check. I mean, one other thing you should notice that when I got 6 minus 1 as 5, I did not cross it, but I did not check it also. So 6 minus 1 is 5, but I'm doubtful whether that is the answer or not. So I had to check the last one as well. But in this case, I find that 6 plus 2 is actually 8, not 5. So if 3 of the cases are out, this one has to be the answer, right? So just for your confidence purpose, you can try to figure out T2 in this form as well. So for T2, by the way, this is 3 into 2 to the power 1 minus 1. So that is T1. So let's see whether 3 into 2 square minus 1. So this -1, -2, +3, those things will be constant. Okay. So 3 into 2 square minus 1, whether that is also coming out to be 11 or not. Just check this. 3 into 4, 12, minus 1, 11. So this also satisfies. Next one should be 3 into 2 cube minus 1. So 3 into 8 is 24, minus 1 is 23. So this is also satisfying. 3 into 2 to the power 4, that is 16. 3 into 16 is 48, minus 1, which is also 47. So this is also verifying. So everything is verified, right? So as I said, I mean, you don't have to check all of these. Just couple of them. T1 itself will give you the answer most of the cases. Sometimes it might happen that couple of them are coming out to be 5. For that case, for in that scenario, what you can do is you can check with T2 as well, whether you're getting the same thing or not. So let me just change one of the options. So let's change option D to 3 to the power, 3 into 2 to the power 99 plus 2. So let me just change the last option. So in this case, this is 3 into 2 to the power 99 plus 2. And in terms of T1, that would be 3 into 2 to the power 0 plus 2, right? So now you'll find that both of these, I mean, this one as well as this one, this is 6 minus 1, which is 5. And this is 3 into 1 plus 2, which is also 5. So both of this could be the answer, right? But both cannot be the answer in all the cases. So let's check the same thing for T2. So for T2, if I check the last two cases, so the C1 will be 3 into 2 square minus 1. And the D1 should be something like 3 into 2 to the power 1 plus 2, right? I'm just treating the powers, that's all. So 3 into 2 square is 12, minus 1 is 11. So this is 11, great. But 3 into 2, now you check 6 plus 2 is not 8. So now this is gone, right? So sometimes it is helpful with the, T2 and T3 in this way as well, wherein from T1, you're not getting the direct parity. Couple of options are remaining. So in that case, you can do this further check. But yeah, as you can see, I mean, most of the cases that are found in CAT as well, you don't have such complex situations. So you will typically have one option or three options ruled out straight away, and the answer you can determine from T1 itself. Just for your confidence thing, you can check the T2 as well. T3 and T4 is not required. So yeah, that's all I had to add for this problem. It's a very easy way to handle this. There is an idea, as I was mentioning at the beginning. So if you observe the given relation is sort of a GP. It's not a GP, but it is sort of a GP, right? So what you're getting is 2 into the previous term plus 1. So this plus 1 is just changing it from GP. If this plus 1 would not have been there, it's a pure GP series, right? So whenever you have this GP kind of thing happening, the common ratio has an impact in the power. So if you check, I mean, the common ratio is 2. So the power of 2 will be present in the terms. So similarly, in all of these options, you will find that you have 2 power of 2, power of 2, power of 2, power of 2, and so on. So that is the idea that happens. Then that could be multiplied to something, and something could be added or subtracted to it to get the term. But that will give us the general form of this. So it will always be of the form some a into 2 to the power either something in terms of n. So n plus 1, n minus 1, something like that. And then you have a plus minus something. So it will always be of this form. So you don't have to worry too much into it. Just use this idea whenever you face a problem like this, and you can simply solve it. Just use the options and parity in terms of that. It's the smartest way to handle these kind of questions. But I hope everything was understood that I explained out here. If there is anything you would like to discuss for this particular problem, you can definitely mention that in the comment section. We'll be happy to take those up. And thank you for joining in.
Hopefully you liked the solutions we provided for these questions. And if you did like it, do not forget to like the video and share, subscribe, and comment. Do subscribe to the channel and click on the bell icon. In that case, you'll get notification as soon as we upload a new video. And if you want to check a bouquet of courses that we provide, so we have a huge variant of courses from customizability to full preparation. You can check our website, www.mathoratory.com. I'll leave the link in the description below. And have an enjoyable preparation ahead. Welcome to the Math Oratory family and have a good exam ahead.